the first MotoVlog on the R1. It's gonna be a short one. It's only about 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm a little bit underdressed. I didn't really realize how cold it was. It felt a lot warmer when the sun was out. All I'm wearing right now is just a regular Icon jacket, and I just bought these new Alpine gloves. But either way, I wanted to do a little bit of exploring today. I moved into a new area in the winter and haven't really got to ride around in it at all. I kind of wanted to check it out. I'm not from this area. I'm a little bit more west. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about today is, besides the shitty ass Michigan weather, is lane splitting. Yeah. A lot of people argue that lane splitting should be legal all across the country, not just in California. Now, in some instances, I do agree. But here in Michigan, I don't think that it would be a good idea to have lane splitting personally. Now, it would be nice to have that option. So I'm not saying don't make it legal. All I'm saying is I can understand why they wouldn't make it legal in Michigan. And that first point is kind of going to be the roads. Sorry about my language, but the roads are just fucked. And you can probably tell by bouncing. And this is actually a relatively smooth road, believe it or not, compared to a lot of the other roads that we have here. And even this is completely tore up. And if it's really windy, I'm sorry about that, because today is a pretty windy day. I'm also wearing an older Icon helmet. I'm going to be buying a nice variant like everybody else that does motovlogging they have. And the only reason why I'm doing that is because it's tried and true. And the third thing I feel like apologizing for is my sniffling. I'm still a little bit sick. But back to the topic. These roads are just fucked. I mean, look at this shit. Trying to ride in the middle of that, good luck. You're gonna get caught, your tire's gonna get stuck, you're not gonna be able to get out, and you're probably gonna end up dropping the bike. I've gotten stuck in that. Almost dropped the bike when I was brand new at riding sport bikes. And it's not fun. I mean, and like I said, this isn't even that bad. Some of these get really bad. I mean, some of them are about 6 inches, 7, 8 inches wide. And, you know, about as deep as the concrete's thick. You know, and it definitely makes a challenge too when you're trying to change lanes on the expressway. And that's another thing I'm going to show you guys, not right now because it's a little too cold and it's during rush hour. But that's another thing I'm going to show you guys is on the expressway. You know, you got these huge ass potholes in the middle of the lane, and I mean, sometimes when you're doing 100, 120 miles an hour, you got to change lanes. And I mean, that's the biggest thing that freaks me out. Going those speeds, anything over 100, is hitting one of them at the wrong angle. You know, it's okay if you cut into it, but I mean, if you're not cutting hard enough, you could potentially get stuck in it, and then you're fucked. So, which is reason number 2. Our expressways are a lot worse than our streets. The only time I would really ever think about lane splitting would be on the expressway. These Harley guys are crazy. Dude's wearing no gear and an open face helmet. The only time I would really lane split is on the expressway. And our expressways are too fucked to even do that. So there goes that idea. But being in a big city, being in Detroit, we do get a shitload of traffic. I work in the other side of Detroit, so I have to drive through Detroit on the main highway every single day during rush hour. And let me tell you, if I was on a bike and I could lane split, I would probably make it work even though there's all these cracks, I would still find a way to make it work. The other point, Michigan drivers fucking suck. I mean, there's really no going around it. They're fucking garbage. Now, I have driven in other states, a lot of other states. Besides Michigan, probably the worst drivers would be Florida. Yeah, definitely Florida. Florida drivers, there's something fucked up with Florida drivers. They're a little bit worse than we are. I wasn't gonna turn here. I don't think I should though. Third gear, why not? I just gotta be careful. It's a little, sorry, I was driving up at a douchebag texting, but it's a little cold. I gotta be careful. I don't have my tires warmed up right now, and I'm not saying this bike is crazy fast, but it has a tendency to break the tire loose instead of do a wheelie or pull the front end up. So I do gotta be careful. This thing had some shitty ass Dunlops when I got it, and they were bald, and I couldn't even do a wheelie. It was just blow that back tire loose. And anyways, sorry I keep getting sidetracked. But Michigan drivers are fucking awful. Florida drivers are probably worse. I've ridden motorcycles in Hawaii. Last summer, I rented a Street Glide. That was one of the coolest experiences of my life. But what did suck was it would be 100, 110 degrees, humidity out the fucking roof, and I had to sit in traffic on a Harley, on an air-cooled bike, and it's a heavy bike, man. I believe they're like 800 pounds. I had to keep shutting the bike off, and I would have to walk it because it was a rental, and I was afraid of fucking it up. It had only 300 miles on it when I got it. It was a 2016 Street Glide, and I mean, that bike was heavy. I had my girl on the back, I mean, and me on it, so altogether it was probably 1,100 pounds, and that motherfucker was just hard to move, way too hard. So if I could have lane split when I was in Hawaii, that would have been another time I would have done it, except that bike's big, and I'm used to riding sport bikes, so maneuvering that big bitch was kind of a challenge at first, for the first few hours of riding it. But you know, lane splitting has its time and it has its place. I have done it, even though it's not legal here. But you know, the issue with that is Michigan drivers suck, and they're not trained to know people on motorcycles will go around you. So you have to worry about that asshole that's riding the line, or they're switching lanes or whatever. You know, you got to worry about that. So I don't really recommend doing it, but you know, we have really cold winters and really hot summers, so if it's 100 degrees and miles and miles of traffic is backed up, yeah, I'm most likely just gonna say screw it and lane split. You know, I've also done where they've had construction and they weren't doing nothing. They just had a whole lane blocked off for probably like, shit, 15 miles at least. Me and my buddies were just like, fuck it. We just went in there and cruise on through. But you know, I'm a big, you know, gun advocate. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in the whole Constitution, honestly. I mean, every single part of the Constitution I believe in. And, you know, that's like people who aren't really into guns or educated about firearms. They don't believe in the Second Amendment. And some of them want to go as far as to having it removed just because they don't believe in it and they don't use it. Well, the good thing is about it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to go buy a firearm, but you have that option. You know, granted, you're not a felon, but you have that option. It's something that you could do. Why take that away? You could wake up tomorrow and have a different opinion a different point of view. You could want to wake up tomorrow and say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go buy a gun, I'm gonna get licensed to carry it. I grew up in a house that didn't have firearms. I wasn't educated on firearms, but I ended up getting a job at a tow yard in Detroit. Everybody there carried, and I said, wow, how do you do that? How do you get licensed to carry? Because I thought only cops could carry, and they said, no man, blah blah blah, you're right, all you got to do is this, that, and the other thing, and here you go. And long story short, I ended up doing that. I went and bought my first gun, and Springfield XDS 45, not the greatest gun, you know, but it's never failed on me. I got probably about 2,000-3,000 rounds through it. It's never failed on me. And a couple months later, took my CPL course and got my CPL, you know. And now I got addicted, really. I mean, I got a shitload of firearms. Kind of like, I don't want to keep mentioning do it with Dan like I'm a dick swinger, but kind of like do it with Dan. A lot of his guns are kind of special, unique guns. I mean, if you guys aren't into guns, you wouldn't know that, but you know, like his Desert Eagle, like that's not a cheap gun. That's a really nice gun. Those are kind of the guns that I like to collect. I like to collect guns that people don't necessarily regularly have. You know, not your typical Glock or, you know, Smith & Wesson or whatever. Even though there's nothing against them, I do own a Glock. It's not a standard Glock, custom Glock, but it's still a Glock. But I don't think that anything should be limited just because you don't believe in it. So I might not believe in lane splitting in Michigan necessarily, but I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have lane splitting. And the other reason why I do like lane splitting though is, like, right now I'm in a rush hour, and one, my bike could potentially get hot. It's not going to today because it's cool. Two, this asshole behind me, Michigan drivers suck dick, and this asshole behind me could be texting and just plow into the back of me. But if I drive in between two cars, there's almost no chance of me getting rear-ended. I might get hit from the side, but I would have a fighting chance to correct that. But if you hit me from the back, honestly, that sounded really gay, but honestly, there's nothing you can do. I mean, if somebody's gonna rear-end you, they're gonna rear-end you, and I mean, there's really not much you can do. So, you know, I watch people, like I've seen Baker X Derek out there lane splitting. I've seen some of his videos where he was talking about how you want to keep so much space between you, blah blah blah, only go so fast. But then I've also seen other videos of him racing, you know, the Mongols and just flying through, you know. And it's shit like that. It's guys, no disrespect to him because I know he doesn't do it regularly, but it's guys like that that fly through lane splitting, causing accidents and people to get freaked out. It's people like that that are causing the lawmakers to go, you know what, yeah, let's hold off on this shit. Let's not let these fuckers do that. They're just causing a scene, you know. But anyways, guys, I told you this was gonna be a short one. I might make it a little bit longer because now I'm in traffic, and to be honest with you guys, I really don't see myself ever really running out of content, especially because of the area that I'm in, and especially because of all the shit that I'm into, all the hobbies that I have. And I just don't want to be sick anymore, honestly, but keep wheezing and sniffling. So I mean, there's a lot of shit that I want to do with this channel. There's a lot of fun things that I want to get involved with. I wouldn't mind doing some form of collaboration with other YouTubers. I know 6'4" Honda lives in Canada. I live really close to Canada. I'm not sure how far from the bridge he's at, but it can't be that far. I mean, Canada, come on now, man. There's only a couple areas of Canada that actually have people living in it. No disrespect to you Canadians, but there really ain't shit in Canada. But long story short, we'll go over all this another day, but I would like to do a collaboration with some of those guys Do It With Dan's definitely the top of my list. Like I said in my introduction video, I'm going to be going to his cruise at the end of May. I should buy my ticket today. I've been holding off. I don't know why I've been holding off, but I'm gonna be staying down in Florida for a few days doing the cruise, hanging out with them, meeting them. That'll be kind of fun, man. He seems like my kind of guy that I would hang out with, so I'm excited for it. It's gonna be interesting. I'm definitely not the type of person that gets, you know, I don't know what they call it, when they see somebody who's relatively famous and they freak out. I'm not that type of person, honestly. I live by Eminem's house, the house that he ended up having to give to Kim, but Kid Rock. I work a lot in his area. I go to a lot of famous people's houses for work, but it's different when you meet somebody that you know is a genuine person. Like Do It With Dan, you could just tell he's just a genuine person, and we're into a lot of the same hobbies, so I think we get along. I'm gonna do a whole shot and shut off this camera. If you guys like, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.